Peace to the family, peace to the gods. I'm gonna leave this one up, man. Y'all come tap in. This is very important. You understand me? So, what I was looking at was the fact that I was looking at the post. They got a post where it's like all of the right-wing people about to do an HBCU tour, right? And it's like Candace Owens, it's like this officer dude, whatever it may be. The difference between that side, you know, that you got to respect is they put their money where their mouth is, number one, right? They put their money up, they organize fast, and they execute. The other side be on defense, and fuck both sides if we being honest, because at the end of the day, none of them are for us. The problem that I have, though, is in the midst of the downfall and the acceleration of the end of the world, we not acting like it's happening. You get what I'm saying? Like, we acting like we got time and we got opportunity just to be waiting. And what happened is everybody get put on the defensive mode, making a bunch of content, telling people not to engage, not to debate. That's not how it works for young people. Young people go get active. You know what I mean? They go get outside. You think they about to listen to some corny ass people on the internet tell them what they can and what they cannot do? If you're not willing to put the money behind to organize and to step outside to reach the consciousness of the youth, you understand me? They gonna be lost. You feel me? Like the thing that I'm building right now, this digital nation network, is so that outside of these systems of control, this matrix that they own, these social media platform, the reason that it only get like 100 people that jump in here at any given time is because these devils run these platforms and they always trying to shadow ban my reach because they know that I have the ability, you understand me, really to reach the whole entire consciousness of the youth global. You feel me? But they won't be able to stop that. So now we're going to get as many people as we can, you know I'm talking about, tapped into the Zion, the Digital Nation Network, which is where we build in our own digital country so that we can be able to organize. Because at the end of the day, we got to create a new side, man. These devils is moving very slick. You feel me? And where these devils is moving, they running every play and every program that they can. You feel me? Because their goal is to accelerate the end of these things. Their goal is to create, when they run through these streets with the military, they want an uprising to happen, so they got a reason to come in, you understand me, and implement executive orders, you feel me, on the people and put everybody on a lockdown. That's their game. They want a war. But you can't go to war unless you're ready. You can't go to war unless you got an army. You can't go to war unless you got soldiers. You can't go to war unless you got organization, man. We can barely goddamn communicate with each other, so ain't no war gonna happen. Not one that you gonna win unless you're able to get on board, especially with people that's out there already training. You understand me? So if they was to go to war with you, they'd smack you fast. So I gotta respect the fact that I see people getting active and they running a 1-2, because on the HBCU is the battlegrounds for the consciousness of the youth, because that's the battleground for the consciousness of the future, the way these young people are thinking. But I think these young people are a little different. You understand me? But you have to understand that some of these black conservatives, man, they slick with it. I ain't gonna lie, because social media ran the world. So as much as you may think that the mind of the youth is strong, without consistent active engagement, you understand me, their identity can be psyoped into a whole new program to where you will be thinking like, damn, I thought y'all would think like me because y'all are black young men and women. But that's not the way it works, right? Because they mind don't even have the ability to defend against a lot of the points that's being made when you have intelligent people that's going on there, that's being paid by, you know, that other side to get their minds. And once they get their minds, they basically creating an army against you. But then the question becomes, is like, you know, I seen this movie, right? One battle after another. And to be honest, I thought the movie was trash. You understand me? I seen the movie Him. Cinematically it was cool, but at the ending the movie was trash. And all these movies have something like, it's something missing, and it feels as if, you know, black media is at this point where unless you have control over it completely, I ain't talking about when somebody allow you to do something, somebody allows you to green light something, you understand me, every movie is mental manipulation, and it doesn't make us feel stronger. It actually makes us feel weaker. The movie I watched with Tiana Taylor, she played a snitch, fake revolutionary, in love with white supremacy and in love with the white man on both sides. And y'all don't understand, like, these are the tactics of psychological warfare. You understand me? These are the tactics that get into the mind of the people, and you might not even realize it's happening because they're doing soft psyops to where it feels like entertainment. But what they're really doing is they're embedding this ideas in your mind, right? Reinforcing this white savior, reinforcing the interrelationship, you know what I mean? Disconnecting the black man and the black woman. Because when you watch a full movie and you don't see a single strong black man leading whatsoever, what is that doing to your mind? These young men are on campuses and they soft as tissue. And a lot of people was like, let the young man be. Don't be so judgmental. Y'all got to understand, these young men are in war. You understand me? When they on them campuses and when they on those phones every day and they ain't got no militant discipline whatsoever to put up a defense system against the world, man, they gonna turn into some soft suckers. Next thing you know, they bending over for the white boys in the bathroom. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you gotta understand that the game is different in the way it's being played. We don't have the ability to just stand idly by, you feel me, and try to act like we progressive and everybody is, you know, being empathetic to everybody and open to what everybody says. Nah, man, you gotta cut that shit off, because you gotta let these young men know that, nah, being a man does have rules, does have code, does have conduct, does have order to it. You feel me? And I ain't seeing nobody on the left side that I feel like, you don't represent true masculinity whatsoever. You know what I mean? That's tension, showing these little young men how to be men, how to stand up. You know what I mean? How to have emotional intelligence, how to think, how to court and treat these young women, how to protect themselves, how to defend themselves. You feel me? To have some consciousness and some knowledge of self. That's going to be the only defense system against these devils. If they don't know they guys, man, the devil can co-opt them to make them think they nothing. If you ain't got that at the foundation, is weak. And that's what's happening right now, because everybody's trying to be too nice and too intersectional. The other side ain't trying to be nice. The other side is saying, fuck your side. The other side is saying, no, we coming for your children. We coming for your life. We coming for your neck. Fuck your respect. That's how they speaking on TV, talking to you straight up. And then you got the other side still out here. You understand me? Trying to play nice. When we do our Digital Nation Network, man, I want to have 1 million. What was it now? I want 100 million people in Zion. I want the whole diaspora locked in. If we don't have the control and the power, it ain't worth nothing. No algorithm is worth it. You understand me? And all this intersectionality, none of that's worth it either. There will be no unity amongst the people unless there's tragedy that reaches such a level that you have no other choice. And by the time that happens, things will be so bad that you're in a full all-out war, not just on the mental level, on the physical level, because things that should make people move no longer make them move, because their consciousness have been psyoped so much that they're not even angry about things that they should be angry about. I'm on my way to the gym, so I gotta get my energy up. You understand me? But I just seen that post and I'm like, first I seen it, I was like, all right, you know, my goal is to do a HBCU tour because I want to reach the consciousness of the youth. You understand me? And specifically reach the young men, so that we have a generation of young men that are strong, that are disciplined, you feel me, and that have consciousness and knowledge of self. That's really the goal. Then get them to become politically independent, so you have a group of young men and women that when it's time to negotiate anything, they got their own mind. That's it. Because everything else, you understand me, You working for the white man. And I can't trust a black person that work for the white man. Y'all see Van Jones, man. I try to do some work with him, but him and like John Hope Bryan, they be capping for them Zionists so much. Like they are pure Zionists. Like they love Zion. Not the real Zion. They love Zionists. And y'all be getting caught up in this shit, man. And it's really just a time for separation. Niggas be getting paid so much from them boys, so much from Israel and all of them. You feel me? They be getting paid millions of dollars to run campaigns on Black America. You can't serve two masters. You gotta have complete loyalty to one side. That's the only way it works. You feel me? You gotta have complete loyalty to one side. If loyalty is split, you understand me? You weak and you ain't worth nothing. That's just the way it works. You can't serve two masters. Y'all know how this game goes. You feel me? Peace to the gods. If you don't know you a god, man, it's hard to work with you. I ain't saying you are the God, but you don't believe in yourself the way all leaders believed in themselves. They got that kind of militant confidence. You ain't really gonna be worth nothing going forward in the future. You know, I be having different things on my mind as I wake up. And sometimes I want to just come on here and, you know, just teach about how you can position yourself to build and become successful and wealthy. But then I ain't gonna lie, man, it just feels like the sense of urgency in the world right now requires us to have a stronger message. Because it's now or never. And we also living in a time where we have such a great opportunity with this technology and the ability to organize in the dissatisfaction of the people across the planet Earth, that if we pay attention to the moment right now, we can build our own world, and that should be the only focus. What world are we building? That's it. Then you have your daily enemies. Their content is your enemy. And I want you to understand that on a level that maybe right now it won't hit you. But every idea they signal to you, every time they can get you to laugh, every time they can get you to just passively intake information, right? Every time that, you know, my brother just sent me some content from this AI influencer on TikTok, a right-wing influencer, getting hundreds of thousands of views. And guess what? The influencer is an AI, not even a real person. I'm not your modern-day Malcolm X. I'm your modern-day 19 Keys. Malcolm X, he lived and he existed in the 1960s, man. He did his thing. You feel me? But the reason I'm not a reincarnation of anybody, because I'm going to do things differently, and I don't want to be pigeonholed by somebody else's example. Even though I believe he was a great and honorable man. But I think that people tell you those things, and I think at the end of the day, you know, is more mechanisms of control, because then if you don't act like the example that they said you were like, then they'll punish you. You said, I'm not close to Malcolm X. That's fine, my brother. You might think he was a perfect angel. The question is, are you perfect? Or are you close to Malcolm X? Because telling another man he's not don't mean nothing. Because at the end of the day, you understand me, if we looking at modern day times, you know, what makes a man close to Malcolm X anyway? Like, can you lay out an example? Can you break it down? You feel me? Is it media? Because we got high level conversations where we reach the people. You understand me? Is it traveling, teaching, knowledge of self? You know what I mean? To our people in America, is it speaking truth to power? You understand me? Like, is it raising the minds of these young black men to be greater men on this planet Earth? Like, at the end of the day, you know, it ain't, you know, as a man, you can stand equal to any man that ever existed. It ain't a man on this planet Earth that you can't rise up towards or go greater than. I don't believe in men in that capacity, that a man that bleeds like me, I can't become greater than. So if we talking in that capacity, you understand me? I don't need to be compared to nobody, because at the end of the day, I'll be the comparison. But I love that brother, and I think that You know, if we was alive today, I would be able to sit down and learn many things from him. He was able to grow to an old age. But these devils don't let us grow to an old age. So therefore, we got to break their curse and create a new world. You know, at the end of the day, Malcolm was did not get resourced by the people to do all the things he needed to do. Because at the end of the day, during his time, Malcolm wasn't celebrated. He was hated towards the end of his death. And it says a lot about the people that is easier to love a man in hindsight. Right? It's easier to love a man in death than it is in life. In life, you have to respect, value, honor, stand beside, support, protect that person while they living. That's why I tell man, treat me like I died yesterday. Because then you'll appreciate the words. You understand me? You'll appreciate the example. You'll realize that, man, this is actually a 0.1%. The people that I support, the people that I help, the people that I build up, if I'm not in their life, there's no replacement for me. There ain't no replacement. If that replacement existed, then they'll be here now. I ain't took nobody's place. There's plenty of room for us all. I got a platform. I'll put you on the platform. They don't exist because they don't want the job. They don't want the job. And I understand why. I understand why. You understand me? And this was my frustration this morning when I woke up. And I see how the one side organizes. And I'm like, man, evil can organize so fast because they understand the necessity of time and power and structure and order. They understand that. So evil organizes fast and good organizes slow. So our people, what they do is if you run a successful PSYOP, then you get people to stop trusting those who are actually trying to do good for them and try to lead them. Once you can break that trust, then it decreases the influence that you have on the people. So you will run counter narratives right to these people. Then the algorithm will push those narratives. So when you search for those people, you'll be like, oh, I don't know if I can trust them. Therefore, without the trust, it decreases the ability to move faster. Now those people will only listen to certain voices in an emergency when they feel like they're in complete survival mode. It's not hard to see the way the devil operates. It's a reason why we don't trust nobody that ever stands up for us. That's not your own thoughts. No, they do this every single time because they put an impossible standard, knowing that nobody can be perfect. And if you perfect, and if you ain't pissing some people off, then you ain't doing enough. I remember when I was first starting and everybody was just liking all my content, just loving it all. I wouldn't get no hate, no nothing. And I was like, man, I'm obviously not doing enough. I'm not pissing off the right people. You know, otherwise you become safe. And once you become safe, you're not making no change. So now that I see the hate that comes in, I say, okay, I'm finally making some impact. You know, I'm finally cutting through. I've had whole entire political groups come at me, you understand me, to try to decrease my power, run psyops on and campaigns on me. Y'all don't know the extent of what happens behind the scenes. You feel me? This ain't just content. They see a man that's powerful enough to lead a nation. And they hope that you never rise to that position, because then, you understand me, you become either a true leader of that cause that take people over that hill, or you become a martyr for that cause that create another 1,000 more. Either way, it's the inevitable. That's what they hope. And they hope that your own people practices cannibalism, endo-cannibalism, where we eat our own so that they ain't got to do the work. And you don't know who worked for them people. Remember, back in the day, it was COINTEL. Well, what does COINTEL look like today when they can just pay a nigga and the nigga might not even know he getting paid? You understand me? To disrespect you. All for the point of showing dissonance within ranks. You gotta take time to think about, you know what I mean, the way the game is played on so many levels. Because when you ever want to be someone that is exalted to a position of leadership, you understand me, it's going to come with opposition. And the most dangerous thing is that the opposition is influential as well. They have tools as well, strong tools. They might show you something about a person at the right time because they seen that you were in their web of influence, and they say, how do we decrease this? And they take you down a rabbit hole that eventually leads you to some information that makes you feel you can't trust this person. Then all of a sudden you like, damn, I thought that was one of the ones. Whole time you being caught up, you understand me, in a psychological operation in a program against that person. This is why, I'm slow to criticize our own people, and I got a lot of grace for us, because I don't know what I'm receiving, whether this is manipulation for me to think of this person a certain way, then they think of me a certain way, then all of a sudden we going at each other. All of a sudden we want to kill each other. All of a sudden we want to destroy each other, because somehow we think that destroying the devil has something to do with destroying each other. Somehow we think that if we see this next person that's rising up, we like, who the hell do they think they are? And if we just take them out, then maybe we making progress. It does not work like that. Your enemy is still safe. Your enemy is still smiling. But somehow we think that if we destroy each other, we become more powerful. It never worked. It never will work. That only makes you a coward to want to take out one of your own, unless they deserve it. But I can show you a long list of people who deserve it before one of your brothers do. But somehow, all our anger and frustration, all our gangster, all our killer, you understand me? Somehow, it always get pointed to somebody who look like you. And all that frustration that you have, and all of that venomous hate that you mad that somebody else is not doing something, somehow it doesn't make you go do it. Oh, these people just talking about the whole time. You ain't even doing that. Because to speak truth is an act of true courage and engagement. Now, this is the time to build, but most of y'all wouldn't even speak truth. And y'all mad that somebody else is doing it because of what it makes you look like. That's all it is. Some people hate the fact that when somebody else is speaking truth, it makes them feel guilty because they don't want to have to stand behind the integrity of those words. So they will always say you're not doing enough, because in a fractured nation, contribution is not enough. If we had our own nation, contribution would be enough, just like every other people. The reason that nobody else has the same sayings that we have, nobody in the white community would tell a white man, oh, you just talking, because in their community, they have a nation. Where speaking and influencing a generation would be enough for them. That's why Charlie Kirk was enough. Because they have a nation. But anytime leadership and influence in the black community, what happens is that people don't want you to be a Malcolm X. They want you to be a Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Marcus Garvey. That's what it is. And the reason I say that is because they want you to talk like Malcolm, but they want you to build like Elijah. They want you to build like Marcus. They want you to build the whole nation. So therefore, the weight of the world is on the individual, not the collective. Because if it's on the collective, then you can just play your part as a part of the collective. You can just be a thought leader, a philosopher. You understand me? You can play one role, but now they want you to play the whole role. The architect, the designer, the builder, the engineer. They want you to construct everything. So nothing you do will ever be enough to a people who don't feel connected to each other. This is why we face this dilemma. This is why people never feel like they're doing enough. People are always telling them you're not doing enough until you do it all. And nobody can do it all. So they keep us in this cycle, stuck. Not appreciating the people while they're there. Then when they die, you become a part of the pantheon of the ancestors. And now we can clearly see what you were doing for us, because you're no longer here, and all we have is time to reflect upon your absence. That's the way it works. So I've been working with my brother Antoine Digital and my AI team on the back end and my digital team on the back end. And we've been thinking, man, how do we build out something outside these systems, this Zion, tired of chasing algorithms. So therefore, the digital network is something that people, and we're still fixing a lot of the bugs, but the idea was, how do we organize the people into a nation? How do we organize the people into a system? And you remember in the Matrix, Zion was the place outside the Matrix. It was real life. Didn't look as glamorous, but it was real. It was real life. It was the people that actually knew what reality was. And the thing about it is that we all know each other. We build with each other. We comment with each other online. We might know each other IG names, but we never, if we don't organize that energy, that collective intelligence, then the power stays potential and it never becomes kinetic. So how do we organize that? That's where the Digital Nation Network comes in. And then that's when you have the ability to see real life execution and implementation, because it really should be easier than what it is, and we're making it harder than what it is. It should just be a push of a button, but the question becomes is, why does so much of your life get in the way of your freedom? Why is it so hard to organize when everybody knows it's the right thing to do? How are they keeping you so busy that you're not living? Because that's how they did to the slave. The slave had to work all day, sun up to sundown. When he had time to plan an escape, to dream. They get a couple of moments where they start thinking and start talking with the others, and they was like, man, I wonder what it's like. You start wondering. But nowadays, man, we barely got time to wonder. So even when they create tools that are immense opportunities that allow us to build whatever we want to, what do you have inside your mind? Because you're so busy, you don't even dream anymore. I barely hear people talking about their dreams. The word dream has disappeared almost. I used to hear so much. My dream is this. My dream is this. And the funny thing about it is we're in a time where you should be dreaming the most, because the ideas are the currency right now. Because the technology is here, but the ideas feel like they disappeared. And there's a mental myopia. And a lack of that fecundity in the mind, a lack of ideas germinating in the mind, means that when we have the technology to where you can build any app, you can build any world that you want to, I'm not seeing enough worlds being built. So when I go speak, and I was speaking in Bermuda, it's always the crux is, how do we raise the consciousness, give them enough information on the technology, right? So that we can focus on building our own world, our old blueprints for wealth, for power and opportunity, so that we can have a future that we shape. And when we are using their tools, and we're not doing it in a manner that is focused on, strategic imagination, and we're only using it for what they tell us to use it for, like Sora, and people just making the cartoons, and people are asking, how do you use this? And it's like, you're actually losing your ability to think every single day. Questions are powerful, but what we're not doing is these are not true questions. No, most people are not asking real questions anymore. They think they are. Asking somebody how to do something is a lazy. It's not really inquisitive. It actually lacks real thinking. It shows that you didn't take any time to reflect, because the question that you asked could have been answered if you just spent 5 to 10 minutes thinking. So we've already entered a time where 85% of people on this planet Earth are no longer really thinking anymore. The machines are thinking for them. The bots are thinking. The AI is thinking for them. The government is thinking for them. Their favorite influencer is thinking for them. And then their influencer is being taught by other thinking machines. And they couldn't tell you what the root of their thinking is. So you don't know what God you follow anymore, because you don't know if your thoughts are connected to God. Your thoughts can draw back to a machine with meaninglessness. You ever talk to ChatGPT and it can write something for you, but what does it really mean? Is it drawn from any experience, any consciousness, any soul? Or is it just words jumbled together to sound good? That's not wisdom. Wisdom is from specific place and intent and experiences in life. So when I see people pulling from ChatGPT and they're speaking scripts, I said that's not intelligence. There's no understanding in this. And we're so impressed by word machines just because somebody can say something. And I'm like, this young man don't know nothing. I can tell he doesn't know anything. He hasn't built anything. He hasn't done anything in real life. Yet they become good at mimicking intelligence. And that's dangerous, because you learn how to develop hooks, capture attention, and in that capture of attention, you go viral. Then that funnel gets people hooked to these short-term clips of dopamine, while people are absorbing the dopamine but not the information. They're not reflecting upon that information. It was just a quick hit, then it disappeared, and then they're waiting for their next fix, while not acting upon none of the things you actually talked about. And you're just going into ChatGPT for another script to give them another fix daily. And it feels like you are becoming an influence, but there's no actual change in the reality of the lives that are downloading and consuming your content. And so it's like just watching a world disappear, watching consciousness disappear after human beings spend so much time developing it, that people are losing their reflective ability. And what separates human beings from animals is that animals have things that they know, right? An ant can build a kingdom, all right? A tiger knows how to hunt. The knowledge is in them, but they cannot reflect on it. They cannot think about their own existence. What does it mean to be a tiger? They just be a tiger. They just be a lion. He just be an ant. And to follow within the alignment of one's nature, because they don't have the free will to break outside that nature. Human beings have the free will to reflect upon choices, decisions, and ideas. We can invent things that have no purpose. We can go off script whenever we want to. We do not have to follow God's blueprint. That's what makes us different, is our ability to reflect, to think. And so in an era where it requires a cognitive renaissance, where attention will go from how do I capture it, right? Because that's where it's at right now. Capture, 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 capture. Capture, capture, capture attention, or consciousness, because attention and consciousness go hand in hand. It's going to go to how do I preserve it? How do I preserve my attention? And those who can preserve their attention, right, become the highest minds in the land. Because many people cannot preserve their attention. So building communities to where those are the highest minds that know how to preserve attention, know how to self-reflect, know how to think with clarity, know how to increase capacity, know how to grow their capabilities and master their capabilities. Those who can master higher consciousness right now will actually exceed in all of their business endeavors. You will exceed in all of your endeavors in life, just by having a level of awareness over self, and then being able to program the machine with that awareness. Once you can program the machine with your awareness, to have detailed thought and ideas, to do deep work where you're taking blocks of time and you're only concentrating on one thing without disruption or distraction. And you can think through an idea with immense detail. I was sitting last night and I was programming applications, vibe coding they call it, because I'm using my words, not program language. So admittedly, I'm no expert at it. But I'm sitting there and I've created multiple apps. One that gave me an aggressive dossier about myself to where I'm going back and forth with it. And it helps me see my blind spots, psychologically, spiritually, in business. Right? And then I'm sitting going back and forth and I'm tweaking that. And you realize that when you describe an idea, the level of detail in which you describe ideas is more important than the idea itself. Because I might describe an app, but then I realize I didn't put a button on there that allows the app to go back to the home page. Or I didn't put a button on there in specificity that allows me to refresh something, right? That when you're designing a world and you're designing an idea, you have to think about all the different layers and levels that goes into the input in the user interface. Then you have to look at the user design. So if I'm able to sit down and I'm able to get into deep focus, and this is something that I believe that everybody should be doing, I want you to think without borders, think without limits. I want you to do blue sky thinking, because in Zion, that's all we're going to be doing. In the high level nation, that's all we're doing. Blue sky thinking. I want you to sit back and I want you to think of your ideas in detail. It should come to the point where you can write a book on it. You should write a thesis on it. And I mean, it can be as wild and vast and imaginative and creative as possible. And don't think about budget. Don't think about how you're going to make it. None of that. Just create. Just ideate. And I mean, get into the details. Become a kid with it. Because that's what it's going to require in this time, day, and age. And guess what? Even if the technology is not there yet to make what you want, they're building the technology to make what you want. So if I'm in there right now and I'm like, oh, this is not as easy to make yet, I still would have to hire somebody to execute this. What happens is wait a couple of months, then they built the tool out to make it easier. You can create 3D worlds. You can chain link all of these apps together. Every single day is becoming easier and easier and easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. So you get to make your idea bigger and bigger and bigger versus limiting your idea to the constraints of your resources. Because you're like, well, I don't know how to do this, or this gonna cost too much, or this gonna take too much time. Jack Dorsey had just gave a breakdown. And Jack Dorsey gave a breakdown on how he was the founder of Twitter. He said, I made an app in a week that would have took me 2 years. Now, he has, of course, programming experience. But it's getting to that point where you can use something like Lovable.com. Right? You can use Vibe Code app. Right? And you can just type in what you wanted to create. But again, it's not just the idea itself. It's the small nuance. It's thinking about how the human being can use it. It's thinking about the usefulness and how it fits into the world. And you don't want to just create a bit of a startup that can be erased by a new idea that OpenAI comes out with. This is why I don't just teach learning tools. I teach how to have an overmind of AI. An overmind is thinking about the philosophy, the higher points of it, not just being in the weeds of it. But if I'm creating something because I also have the distribution channel for it. So when it comes to, a lot of you all may say, well, you don't have the following. You don't need the following, because they actually need you to create something and then they will distribute it on their platforms. The same way I will for people that's in Zion that build ideas that I believe in. So now if you want to reach hundreds of thousands of people and you build something that I can partner with, you have distribution. So now you ain't got to worry about that part. Now, guess what? We got a brother on the team that is a co-owner of a bank. He can help get you loans. You understand me? For your business and get you capital and credit for your business. So now you ain't got to worry about the capital problem. I just don't want you all to think in problems at all. And I know it's going to be hard because we're so used to doing it. We're so used to thinking about what we don't have. I need you to practice thinking without limitations. That's the only people I can be around. I can't be around no people. I can't be around people that make excuses. I can't be around people who don't know how to think on a higher level. And for those that's been asking for mentorship and things of that nature, it will be available in the Zion. I won't be doing it outside of the Zion. The only other place to where people will be able to onboard Zion is in our Patreon. Our Patreon members will have the opportunity to enter into Zion, to where you will be a part of our community. We're building out our voice, I really call it the bonfire, right? Where you able to come around and have this bonfire moment to where y'all able to build. You know what I mean? And so that will be available soon. And then right now we're building out our passports. So we're testing to make sure that you are highly aligned. If you're not aligned with our ideas and our goals and our visions to build, which one of those things is going to be able to build alternative cities and communities together, buying land, building on top of that land, or finding members in Zion that have land, resources, etc. But right now, my goal is to really get capital for everything that I'm doing so that I can execute at a high level. But I know that the capital exists inside the community. Let me give you a breakdown. And then I'm about to go work out. So, let's say it like this. A small town can be anywhere between 1,000 to 20,000 people. Influencers are economies, but they didn't teach you this because they didn't want you to organize on the back end. Instead of social media, the goal is to create social infrastructure. You understand me? To where we can enlist for the assets, right, within a nation, right, and what everybody has within that nation. So if we got 1,000, if you got 1,000 people that follow you to 20,000 people that follow you, right? And you think about it from a GDP standpoint, that can be anywhere up to $40 million in GDP, depending on, you understand me, the average income of those people, right? So if you got an older group of people that's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right, then, of course, the boomer generation got a lot of money. So if we're looking at a small town can have between 1,000 and 20,000 people, and that can represent at a minimum level $40 million. Now, if we're looking at, let's say, a city, right, to where it got like 100,000 to 500,000 people, right, and then of course that can go even higher, but we're talking about at minimum level, right? Now we're looking at to where you're talking about in the billions of dollars. Then we go into, let's say, 1 million to 1.5 million, right? We're going into tens of billions of dollars. We're just talking about the assets, the income, right? The buying power and the GDP just within that community. So what happens on social media, the reason why they had to make this thing so disconnected from having any infrastructure is because influence is too powerful. When you can get 100 million people that follow one person, right? That is a small country. That country then worth $1 trillion. So that means that you have the ability to influence possibly trillions if you could organize infrastructure behind that influence. So typically you'll see somebody, let's say like a Kim Kardashian, right? The reason they're going to pay her $1 million per post, a reason they're going to give her deals that's worth billions of dollars is because she has the ability to possibly influence trillions of dollars and over time, right? And so influence is actually economic, because when you are somebody, let's say like a Yaqui, and he's teaching millions of people and he's telling them what not to eat and what to eat, you just influence their habits for the next 10, 20 years. So now you shifted their habits, right, away from Kellogg products. You shifted their habits away from Coca-Cola products, right? So you took money out their pockets and then you shifted it over to another industry. You might not realize that if you are a person that has a vegan business or wellness company, you have been indirectly impacted from the influence without realizing it, just because somebody is educating a community and influencing them to different habits. So now when you creating your brand, you might not realize that you can thank this vegan influencer. But that's the way influence works. It is a web that is connected to the decisions that the consumer chooses. So when you raise somebody's consciousness, right, you're changing the GDP of that country. And so you think about that on a organizing level, that if you have influence over a people and they allow you to have that influence over the people, and more than that, they're giving you their data. All right, now here's the important part with all of this. The reason that it's hard to do things, because typically we don't have the data inside black and brown communities. GDP is gross domestic product. So look that up. Typically, if you don't have the data, then you can't determine what people really need and what they really want. You can't understand their habits. So these companies, like let's say OpenAI, people are talking to them personally. And as they're talking to OpenAI, they're treating it like it's their therapist. So they're telling it what they need and what they don't need. OpenAI is able to clock your schedules of use, is able to clock your emotions, and then they're able to take that data, right, which is very valuable data, and then they're going to be able to turn that into insights. Those insights allow them to then turn those into products to show you what commercials to make. But remember, they have AI, so they can create AI commercials that is customized directly towards you. All right. So therefore, when they're getting you to buy things inside of ChatGPT, right, it's because they have a rich amount of data on you, right? And those insights allow them to transform that into a product. So now they're influencing your habits because you're using their product, and their goal is to keep you inside their world. So you're going to use the ChatGPT, then you're going to use the Sora, right? And then they have like Pulse, which gives you updates on a day-to-day. So all of this keeps you in this economic cycle. But the problem is that we never typically give those type of insights and data to somebody that looks like us. So when you want somebody in the modern day and age to nation build, to lead, you would actually have to give them enough data to where they can start building out the products, the community, and the resources. Because it's like anytime I go travel somewhere, I have to learn the people, right? You have to hit the streets. You have to know what people need in order to fulfill the needs. So yes, they got the Oura rings, they got the watch, they got the Apple watches, they have your health data, they're tracking your steps, they're tracking your brain waves. So they know how you're feeling, they're tracking your thinking. And then they're creating and taking that data from the brain waves, right? That's why sometimes it might not be one app that's tracking you and then something pops up from the app. But what it is each app is selling data to the next app. So everything that you use is an insight to a habit, right? And so you might be talking to the microphone, and maybe it's not Apple directly sending that, but Apple may be giving data to another company that then, is tracking you and then is showing you an app. But you don't realize what patterns and habits are underlying that is information to them that is valuable, because the AI is able to take that data and understand patterns in it, things that human beings can't even recognize. And especially as they plugging it up to super AGI and to these super quantum computers. So this is why, as we're building, you have to get the data of the people, right? When Trump comes out and he says he has the data on the new jobs being created, imagine you're able to do that in your community, to where you can be like, yo, here are the jobs that we created inside our community, but you created impact, but you can't track the impact. Because nobody giving you the research, the data, and the numbers. So I've changed and made people a lot of money, but I can't track it. So I can't say, yo, okay, over the course of 10 years, right, I've influenced, $10 billion. I can show you how many people watched. I can show you the impressions. I can say that, we had just on high level conversation 100 million views, and then we had billions of impressions. But what does that data actually mean to me? Right? It gives me an idea, but it doesn't give me the details. I don't know. So now you got to get a breakdown of what is the average income that somebody who follows you make. What are all of the sites that they watch? What are the competing ones? Right? What impact have you made in people's lives? And that to me is a different metric that we want to track, is impact. But they don't give you impact metrics. They only give you the metrics to keep getting more and more attention, and then you have to build systems outside of that attention to capture that funnel. So typically, if I was to teach somebody, right, how to become high level, and by becoming high level is this framework that I put together on how anybody can scale their influence, right, and where they are. You teach them how to position themselves with clarity, because branding is just reputation. How to develop a reputation for one thing. Once we can get you to develop a reputation as an expert to that one thing, and when people think about that subject, they think about you, then you focus on creating media and reputation around that. Once you have a reputation around that, then people start seeking you as a source of truth. Once they seek you as a source of truth, you then have the ability to monetize that source of truth, right, by producing value and giving it to people, right? And therefore, you then automate a system, and then it becomes this loop. And next thing you know, you're able to turn up your business. Now, that all goes into a system. And so the goal is, how do you get to gravity? Because right now, we don't have gravity, magnetism, to where we can hold attention. We're always chasing it on social. Your next post, your next post, your next post. That's not what you want to do. You want to be like Jay-Z, to be honest, if we're talking attention. Right? His absence is more powerful than his presence. And it maintains relevance. So in that maintenance of relevance, you're not chasing all the time. There's still a value in your presence because your reputation remains. So now when you show up, people want to be next to you because there's a magnetism, there's a value in it, because they may never get this opportunity again. And so when we're developing somebody and consulting somebody, we're taking them through the process of what is going to be your gravity, that you're able to hold attention versus chasing it all the time. We're not going to have you chasing trends, right? We're not going to have you doing none of those things, because that puts you in a rat race with everybody else. We want you to get you off the trends to where you are the one that are setting and people looking at you as an archetype. That gives you the ability to become very high level in the world, because most people are low level or mid level. Right? At a low level, those are just the consumers every single day, right? Asking how to do something. At a mid level, you have some influence, but it's completely dependent on the algorithm. What's the next trend? What's the next design? What's the next application? Right? What's the next algorithm change? You're always dependent on the algorithm, right? And then at a high level, you are somebody that is actually shaping things. No matter when you come out with something, it will be appreciated because you have density inside your community. You have gravity, right? You have a resonance, a highly aligned community. Your reputation is solid. So therefore, anytime a topic comes up in your reputation and industry, people are looking for you. So therefore, you then can create automation, you can create systems, and it allows you to perpetually create success at a high level. And in the world that we're going to, you're going to need this gravity. You're going to need to be able to hold attention, because then you want to build a world around, right, that attention. And attention in this case is consciousness, and consciousness is complexity. So if you understand that organisms, as they become more complex, they grow in consciousness. Starting off from an atom, and an atom becomes a cell, and that cell becomes a sperm, and that sperm then becomes organs and a full human being. And then all of a sudden it has experiences, and at each level there's a replication of its complexity based on the different experiences and based on the bonds. So when you're creating a brand, if you can develop the complexity within that brand, right, you are not just wanted for one thing. And so therefore a person is trying to pick you over somebody else. But they like, wait a minute, I want to learn AI. This person is good at it, but 19 Keys know it as well. But also 19 Keys is with the culture. But also 19 Keys is conscious. Also 19 Keys is cool. But also 19 Keys communicate. Also, I see 19 Keys with my favorite. There's complexity, right? While this person only has that one thing, so they're easy to dismiss. There's not a web of connections that develop that complexity. So when you think about making this decision, there's more consciousness involved. So essentially what it always boils down to, and you strip it of all these things, you're getting into how to develop higher consciousness. But I developed a framework, I developed that into a system so that a person can hold that. So anyway, comment Zion. You know what I'm talking about? So we can exit the matrix together. That's the goal. Comment Zion. Let's exit the matrix together. Especially for those that want to, become high level in the things that they do in their design. To live the lifestyle that you want to live. To be free. To liberate oneself. You understand me? I know ultimately that's what it is. I know we all tired of the rat race, tired of chasing the attention, tired of having to create content and dance around and every new AI thing that comes out. That ain't the wave. That ain't the wave, my guy. That is not the wave. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to have to do that. Nobody wants to have to live with consistent uncertainty. And more importantly, nobody wants to have to do it alone. So doing it alone is weak. Because, yeah, you can move faster by yourself, but you move higher together. Yeah, people hit me up. I got a lot of people to get back to. I actually get on a call with my brother Yaki. Because we still planning out this retreat. And there's been a lot of people that's been hitting me lately that need to get in contact with my brother. Patreon, which is our behind the scenes content, we had to do that because it becomes impossible to continue. I just want to ask y'all this. If you really enjoy high level conversations, press 1. If you enjoy high level conversations, press 1. And this is something I'm going to ask you all because we need more capital to continue to grow high level conversations. And the way to figure that out is just to have a strong community. And the question is is it worth a subscription? You can start at $1, you can start at $11, $44, and we have different tiers that allow you to connect to us. If high level conversations has made any impact in your life, your consciousness, your growth, your transformation, your journey, you understand me? Comment Patreon, become a part of that community, please, because this is a way that we're going to be able to create our documentaries. We're going to create more episodes, more movies, more behind the scenes, right, with the community. And we're actually going to be uploading new things today. We have a trip to Africa that's coming up. That's going to be very powerful because we definitely going to have the behind the scenes inside of that. So yeah, once you join the Patreon, you start getting access to behind the scenes things. But it's more so for people to just support the movement. It's a way to say, listen, man, I've been following you for a long time. I support what you do. I salute what you do. You understand me? I want to see you do more of that on this journey. And people are always asking how they can help. This is one of the ways that you can help. You understand me? Joining the Patreon, getting in at one of the levels so that by the time we get to, let's say, I think when we have our first, 1,000 members, right? I think that's when we go start releasing I think we can focus on creating our documentary from there. 1,000 members at the $11 or the $19. And then once we get to 10,000 members, that's when we can start really putting out movies. You feel me? So anybody that wants to help us with this mission, because media is the most powerful thing. And our goal is to make it worth way more than you could ever pay for. That's always our goal. So you're going to feel like you robbing us by the end of this thing. And if anybody wants to be involved, go a little harder, you can hit me up directly. You feel me? So if you what, Keys, I want to put 10,000 to high level. I want to put 100,000 to it. Listen, hey, we can make you a director. You know what I'm saying? If you got a business and you want to do on a business level to where you want to actually have advertisement inside the episodes, yeah, you got a company, we can make you a sponsor. Just hit me up, man. We put you in the commercials. Oh, All right. Now, y'all go get y'all some workout in. I see y'all in the Patreon. Peace and blessings to the gods.